The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998. Live from the PWR studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, this is the Pro Wrestling Report Post Show on Blog Talk Radio with your host, Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report here live on Blog Talk Radio. Damian Nelson coming here from the PWR studios. And we are live talking tonight. No ESPN radio show tonight due to the rules based on Twitter, Facebook, and also in the chat room right here on Blog Talk Radio. We're going to be getting to some of your comments here in this post show as we talk about WWE RAW. We're also going to take a couple of your phone calls at the following number. You can give us a call at 347-996-5278. 347-996-5278. And remember to go ahead and press 1 to indicate you want to speak on air with your comments at the show. A very, very, very eventful show tonight from WWE in Oklahoma City for Raw. Let's go over the highlights of what happened, including the return of Vince McMahon to WWE television tonight. Jim Ross fired. Triple H relieved of his duties as the general manager of Raw. The Miz and R-Truth back in WWE reinstated. The walkout is over because John Laurinaitis is the new general manager of Raw. Now, John Laurinaitis is not the COO of WWE. He's the general manager of Raw. Cody Rhodes steps up big time against Randy Orton. Matches are made for vengeance. But even with all that being said, most of you are not very complimentary about what happened on Raw tonight. David Hero, a big night on Raw, a lot happening. Just went over all the highlights. The fans, though, the feedback we've been getting so far, not so strong. Did WWE deliver, over-deliver, or under-deliver tonight on Raw?
You know, I think the only thing that got delivered was Triple H becoming the top babyface in the company. I mean, the way that they had the whole show built was to make sure that H is, the top guy. I mean, he comes out, gets the crowd pumped up, then Cena comes out, Sheamus comes out, Punk come out. They all give Triple H, their approval, saying he's the guy. So the top three baby faces now anoint him as, you know what, we're going to stand behind you. And then what do? They have Johnny Ace come out, take away his power, crowd boos, only to have Triple H save the day to end the show. So I don't know if it's selfish booking or whatnot, but you would think that they could have put somebody else in that spot to help Punk out. I mean, why didn't John Cena come down? I mean, he has a problem with Miz and R-Truth, and I don't know. This thing was just a mess. It started off, I was rather entertained, but after that, it all went downhill.
And a lot of your comments on Twitter, remember our username on Twitter is @PWR Show, talking about what you were just talking about, David Hero, which is Triple H back in action and aligning himself with CM Punk. And a couple of comments. Nick Halen, username on Twitter, saying, Triple H, the wrestler, returns. Thank you. Aaron BSC saying, here's the Triple H I want to see. And so seemingly some people happy to see the game, if you will, back in the game tonight on WWE television. But David Hero, if we rewind and go back to the beginning few minutes of Raw, it was sort of bad. You say it started off strong and went downhill from there. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into it, but I think too much was explained and things were over-explained, while at the same time they failed to explain a lot of stuff. I think that CM Punk trying to explain why he stayed aligned with Triple H and WWE was too much.
What they did is they elevated Cena, Sheamus, and Punk even more, and kind of, made the mid-card look weak. I mean, they showed 4 guys, the 4 main eventers, I guess, in the company, were the ones that were still going to go out there and play. They didn't care if it was a blizzard outside, if it was raining or hurricanes or tornadoes. They were going to go out and they were going to play while everybody else was hiding because they were afraid of getting hurt.
And that all started with Triple H, who said, I showed up, says that the stars walked out on you, the fans, and he's not going to quit. Maybe it was the pandering that was bothering me. There was just too much pandering going on where I don't understand, especially now seeing what happened at the end of Raw, the ultimate reason and reasoning behind what was done to all those other people who were outside the arena tonight. Now, some of them definitely ended up faring better at the end of the night than they did being referenced to at the beginning of the night. But at the same time, the overwhelming statement was everybody else sucks but me, Cena, CM Punk, and Sheamus.
Right, but let's not forget, they don't book this stuff for you and I. They book it for, obviously a younger demographic where they're going to boo and cheer on cue. So they didn't do it for us. Well, you know what? You look good for 18, I guess. But I'm just saying, it's like they don't do it for us, and they just know that they want to get the kids with a short attention span to forget. And I don't know. I mean, you know what? For me, it was funny. I mean, I watched it with Cal, and he laughed. He's like, "Oh, this is cool that they're still going to do a show for the people," and that's who they book it for. It's not for us, and that's why it's so damn frustrating.
Yeah, but you know what? They used to be able to please everybody. They used to be able to please the 12 to 17 audience. They used to be able to please the 18 to 54 to 30 to 24 audience, the 24 to 34 audience, blah, 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 blah. They used to be able to please across all those channels. Even if wrestling overall is not as popular, then they could still be pleasing all those different segments of the population. And no matter who they're writing it for, They have over-explained things to us as wrestling fans to a point where you're waiting to hear every little morsel of what did or didn't happen explained on TV because of the realism that's been injected into WWE. You heard CM Punk talk about tonight how he would venture to have said that he started this whole thing. Maybe that's what's missing. I don't know.
Why wouldn't he say that?
I'm not knocking it. I thought Raw was actually overall, if you go back and look at all those pieces of what happened tonight, a very significant show. Next week, I do believe they're going to be taping Raw and SmackDown in Mexico. And that's going to be going into Vengeance. Maybe it's in 2 weeks. I don't know. But coming up very soon, going into Vengeance, they're going to be taping Raw and SmackDown down in Mexico with their champion, Alberto Del Rio, who came out of this whole thing tonight extremely unscathed.
Yeah, but he may be unscathed, but he was done nothing to elevate him. There's nothing to make him a stronger champion going into his match with Cena. They have done nothing at all to make ADR look like he is the current WWE champion.
Well, because, arguably, he isn't championship material. One man that did prove tonight that he is championship material, and David Hero, I would love to hear your truthful comments on this. The man who seemingly is going to walk into Vengeance and go up against the former champion Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, tonight, David Hero, I think, was situated in his place as one of the top players in World Wrestling Entertainment by World Wrestling Entertainment.
He jumped a guy from behind after he's beat up by the world's strongest man.
I didn't ask you that. I said your truthful answer. WWE put Cody Rhodes in a place tonight to elevate him further as a star. Truth or false?
False. They just had nobody left on SmackDown to work with Randy Orton.
Keep it up. You're going to be hosting Sudden Impact Radio.
Whoa, that's like a life sentence. I mean, you know what? Cody has been doing the right things. He really has. He carries himself like a star. He comes across like he's a star. I wish he'd stop talking like a goof, but I mean, it does, because you know what? They really don't. he doesn't need that. You know what I mean? He's a good talker to begin with. It just sounds like, he has some nasal congestion or whatnot. Is the Miz over? You guys having a good time? A little party? A little reconciliation kind of thing over there?
Will you stop?
Just asking.
Jim Ross is fired today. Mm-hmm. Now, this hasn't been explained. I don't know what's going to happen. And it was all sort of weird the way it played out. But, I mean, come on, David Hero, what's the – and look, I'll say this. I appreciate what they're doing with Michael Cole. I appreciate the antagonistic way that Michael Cole presents himself. But, look,
that's your role model.
Earlier. No way, shape, or form is he my role model.
People that watch PWR show Primetime, they say, you know what, Damian antagonizes you. He's like Michael Cole. I'm like, absolutely. He just
because
doesn't see
it. The reporter, and I report the facts, not littered with all these skewed opinions that you share and the people you can't give credit to. I've given credit at times to Alberto Del Rio more than he deserves. I've given credit at times to Shane when he was getting buried after you.
He's a world champion.
Stars. He's a former world champion, as Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
But the current Intercontinental Champion and the man who headlined WrestleMania, you still to this day have not given any credit to at all. Because of that, people are at times not able to understand my frustration with your lack of biased discussion.
No, I mean, The Rock headlined WrestleMania. I think he's a great talent. He's going to headline the next WrestleMania, too.
Why are you trying to get this show off track? We only have a few minutes here because you've got somewhere to be.
Well, yes. I mean, come on. The Brewers.
I want to remind everybody about our broadcast schedule for this week. For this week, it's Be the Booker on Friday, David Hero, for TNA's Bound for Glory on pay-per-view.
The BFG.
Going to bring the Hero Strader back out?
Yeah. You know what? That's one hell of a gimmick, isn't it? You didn't get the bill yet, did you, by chance?
Yeah, I got the bill. Saturday, PWR Primetime on My 24 Milwaukee, and of course all over the world on YouTube. And Bobby Roode, the man who walks into Bound for Glory to become the TNA World Champion, if things go his way, will be our guest on Primetime this Saturday night. And then Sunday after Bound for Glory, David Hero, will be the live PWR post-show for Bound for Glory. Now, we've heard that Hulk Hogan is not going to take any bumps at Bound for Glory. Does that mean people should or shouldn't order it?
No, you got to order it.
We'll talk about that.
If you want TNA to succeed, you got to order Bound for Glory.
All right. Well, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to be taking a couple of your phone calls. Again, the number 347-996-5278. This is the Pro Wrestling Report post-show for WWE RAW here live on Blog Talk Radio. Welcome back to the post show for WWE RAW here on Blog Talk Radio. Wherever you might be listening live, thank you because I'm happy. So appreciate your support and appreciate those of you who use the hashtag PWR in your tweets and like us and discuss professional wrestling on Facebook. David Hero, the return of Mr. McMahon tonight. Vince McMahon comes back. I think I sort of missed the whole reason why he had the opportunity to go in and speak to the board of directors and why he was still billed as the WWE chairman. Did I miss something?
Well, he's still the chairman, just not the COO. He can still be a chairman, can he?
A horse is a horse, of course, of course. I thought it felt flat. I thought it felt completely flat. It was awesome to have Vince back. It was awesome to hear the pop he got. I think the dialogue between him and Triple H was excellent. There were some things missing, as I said a moment ago, but Daddy was home tonight on Raw. And I think the obvious thing is that maybe down the road we'll see that him and John Laurinaitis may have been working or may be working together on some of these efforts. But I got to say the new Raw general manager replacing Triple H, who replaced the anonymous Raw general manager, who we never found out who it was, John Laurinaitis has got some heat with the audience there, David Hero. Not a popular guy.
Well, no, not at all. But let's,
I mean that in a good way.
No, yeah. I mean, you know what? It's great to have a heel, but he has legitimate X-Pac heat where the fans really just don't like the guy. But what's interesting is, first of all, Vinnie Mac comes down and interrupts a main event match between Cena and Sheamus.
Great point.
And then Johnny Ace comes down and interrupts a main event match between ADR and Punk. And then the payoff in the main event is disqualification. So if that's how they're going to book stuff, they're going to get a lot more than just X-Pac heat on some of these characters involved.
Well, we'll see what happens. Again, we're going to let you guys decide by going on over to our Facebook page where you can vote whether tonight's Raw was a pass or fail. Overall, what would you give the show, a pass or fail, according to you, the audience? And we let you decide each and every week, and we'll get to those here at the end of this broadcast where we have just a few minutes remaining. We're going to go to a couple of phone calls, David, as long as that's okay with you.
Hey, bro, whatever you want, man. This is your show. I'm just the opinionist.
I don't want to get you upset because I know how, vindictive you can be at times. But let's go now to our first caller who's calling us from the 251 area code. Caller from the 251 area code. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, how y'all doing, yo? This is CJ from Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, CJ from Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, first of all, I want to say hey to both of y'all guys. I really love the show. I just got one brief, quick comment. Maybe this comment may have y'all thinking a little bit.
Okay.
Last week y'all talked about the possibility of John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, being the man in charge, and y'all pushed it over. But the comment I want to say is a few of my guys, a few of me and the guys were talking it over, and we thought a good idea. Kevin Nash and Johnny Ace was talking after he got fired from Triple H.
Right.
You don't see him no more. But what did he talk about?
That's one of the many unanswered questions that we have right now on WWE programming. And one thing WWE is very good at, thank you very much for that call from down in Mobile. One thing WWE is very good at is dangling those little carrots and planting those little eggs and letting them sit there and let them sit under the right temperature and then hatch later on where it's an aha moment and you're like, that's why this all makes sense. They still have that opportunity, and let's not forget that at the Survivor Series, The Rock will be getting back into a ring. And many of you have probably seen the rumored participants on either side of that Survivor Series team matchup. So this obviously going to that event, and with everything then leading to the Royal Rumble, and then, of course, to WrestleMania. So while people might be thinking that some of this is hot-shotted, and I'm not disagreeing that it is, I do believe there is a general path that WWE is traveling down. Or let me rephrase that. I do believe there is a general roads that WWE is traveling down towards WrestleMania right now.
Well, I mean, how many times have we, put together ideas and plans and say, okay, you know what, we're going to do it this way, and it'll be a process and whatnot. When finally it happens, sometimes things just do get rushed, and they don't get the reaction from the crowd that they had hoped for, where, the booking committee might just be 3 or 4 people, and they think it's great. Then all of a sudden they present that out in front of an audience, a live audience of, 10, 15, 20,000, and they may not understand it because they don't understand all the true backstory behind it. But, boy, they just whenever they have something good, they have tripped over themselves by trying to make it better instead of just letting it play out on its own. And that's been the biggest problem lately with the E, and even in TNA, where people just, instead of letting it marinate and enjoying it, they just want to, bring you something else, just, right away without anyone getting a chance to truly appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep. But aren't they forced into that to a degree right now due to the increased competition that WWE is getting on Monday nights, especially with Monday Night Football and all kinds of other television options?
Because there's DVRs. People can DVR whatever they want now. I mean, You know what? Really, if you think about it, they could have kept CM Punk off of TV, let CM Punk have that belt, and they could have brought him back tonight. That could have been the one guy that, John Laurinaitis reinstates or brings back or signs, and then maybe a couple weeks from now they can bring back Miz and R-Truth right before the Survivor Series. They're just rushing. It's just like, slow down. There's nothing wrong with letting the storyline play out for a while.
We're a month away or so from WWE Survivor Series. And as we know, Halloween falls on a Monday, so there'll be a wasted show there where not much will happen.
There'll be a Divas costume party. That'd be plenty.
Oh, yes. And then Thanksgiving, of course, will be the food fight that always happens on SmackDown,
yeah.
Which is great, by the way. And by the way, SmackDown last week, David Hero, I thought it was another good show. I thought it was a great show from WWE on Friday night. And Mark Henry tonight loses in a matchup to Randy Orton, gets a little bit of it back after the matchup, but on top of being laid out by the Big Show on SmackDown, and then tonight being defeated by Randy Orton, is Mark Henry losing some of his
he's
House
looking
of Pain?
Vulnerable. Yes,
Yeah.
He's looking too vulnerable. The only one that should be bumping Mark Henry around that ring should be the Big Show. That would be it. Right now, you know what? There's no reason for Randy Orton to have to get all of his stuff in on Mark Henry on Raw. Save it for a big match at a pay-per-view. Don't give it all away right now.
Yep. And maybe it was just a ways by which to get the whole Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton thing in front of the Raw audience. I think most of that's been happening on SmackDown. But either way, Mark Henry is a star and a stud, and people are talking now about Mark Henry being the potential opponent for The Undertaker at WrestleMania again, coming up in Miami.
Well, if that's the case, then they better start making Mark Henry be the monster that he is and not letting him, take DDTs and punches and all these, knockdowns and whatnot from Randy Orton.
Mr.
Make him be the legitimate badass. Don't let Batman keep beating up Bane all the time. Bane eventually breaks Batman's back. Let's not forget that.
And, you always got to be picking on Batman. Your beloved Superman is afraid of rocks. Rocks.
Green, glowing rocks. They freak me out.
At their core, they're rocks.
Okay.
Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Every time we go to Oklahoma...
Who cares? You know what? He gets fired again. Big deal. Come on. It's just a way of getting cheap heat on Johnny Ace. He'll be back in a month or 2 or 3, whatever.
Potentially, but why? Because this time he was brought back because Triple H did it. I didn't think... Something was different about the way that was presented tonight, though, David Hero. I'm not saying whether it was actuality, reality, or whatever, but... JR didn't say a word. He just sort of, walked out. It was almost like relieved. And the reasoning
okay, here we go again. Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt,
Exactly. And the reasoning was that he walked out on Triple H. Well, didn't Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler and 55 other people walk out on Johnny Ace? I'm not questioning doing it.
It's a way of getting the heat on Johnny Ace. That's all that it was for.
Understood. But at the same time, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, what of this show really did make sense tonight?
Cody Rhodes' domination, the Miz back.
I mean, think about it. Let's go back to the start of the show. So they have Cena versus Sheamus. What are they gonna do when that match was over? Just have all 4 guys sit in the ring and talk?
Well, that was the other thing. What was next? And I don't think
exactly.
They didn't have anywhere next to go. But that was one thing that I was thinking about. I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. This is neat. But what's next?
Well, they all be foxhole buddies all of a sudden? Come on.
I'm sorry?
Exactly.
I didn't see Alicia Fox on. Didn't Alicia Fox get buried on SmackDown Friday night?
What was that?
Oh, exactly. Well, let me guess. Your monitor and your microphone went out.
No, my phone just tweaked and cracked a little bit there. I thought it was
Vengeance,
voice.
2 matches were announced at Vengeance. It's CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio for the WWE.
No. Rewind there, champ.
I said John Cena. My apologies. John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio for the WWE Championship. But CM Punk, who I mentioned a minute ago, is going to team with his new best pal, Triple H,
Foxhole buddy,
to take on the Miz and R-Truth. Those two matches announced now for Vengeance, as well as what was announced on SmackDown Friday, Big Show versus Mark Henry.
Now, don't you think that they should have announced H and Punk's opponents at Vengeance? Just have everyone wonder who it's going to be, and then you bring out Miz and R-Truth, then everyone's truly booing and hating them. Because it'll be a far hotter crowd at a pay-per-view than at a Raw.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And they could have gotten a bit more out of it over the course of the next couple of weeks as well. But I think this going to Mexico thing is really going to throw the whole WWE universe off a bit because, as we know, David Hero, things change when WWE goes to Canada. Things are obviously going to change when WWE goes to Mexico because they're going to be very, very supportive of their stars that are native to their home country, including Alberto Del Rio, he's a heel, right? Last I checked.
Absolutely.
That's going to be interesting, and something that might get in the way of their plans for the next few weeks on television. The winter season WWE is always a bit of a challenge because there's stuff in the way. We talked about Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, football, all that stuff. So, and here in Milwaukee, obviously, you got the white hot Milwaukee Brewers. You know, did you hear?
Well, they weren't that hot tonight.
Well, here's the thing. I found out that their uniforms were made of like polyester, and I made a suggestion that they change out, over to cotton, and they did it for the first few games of the series and Sunday's game as well. Not tonight. They decided to revert back. I guess there was a shrinkage issue.
Well, you would know about that.
Well, I was in the pool. WWE Raw tonight, David Harrell, went in many different directions. And you made the point about the Divas match. I'm sorry, the first matchup being cut short. The Divas matchup being cut short. Well, it ended, but it was still a short match. But nobody remembered it when John Laurinaitis came out after the matchup. I think if you sit back and really look at Raw tonight, they did much more than maybe we're realizing as fans that they actually did. And for that, maybe it's going to take it a while to sink in, but they've got a pay-per-view to sell in the next 2 weeks and a long way to get there as well. So given that, I think that WWE did a pretty good job tonight of presenting stuff and getting us bought in to where they were. And
so their go-home for the pay-per-view is next Monday night, right?
I believe that to be the case, yes.
Wow. They got a lot to do.
Mm-hmm. Let's go now to... Sorry?
Okay, go ahead. No, hey, go ahead.
Let's go down to... Don't get hot. If you're hot, just say you're hot.
Well,
let's go down to the phone, and let's go to a caller calling us from the 309 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report post show.
Yo, what's up? My name is Arthur Jones, and I'm calling from Bloomington, Illinois.
Hello, Arthur from Bloomington normal.
This Raw was jacked up. This Raw was
like
totally
Mason
jacked
Ryan jacked up, or just a mess? What are you talking about?
It was a mess.
Okay.
Because having John Laurinaitis as the interim general manager is like it's just worse than having Vicky. It's just worse than having Vicky Guerrero as the general manager, because those two were the worst general managers ever, and John Laurinaitis is going to be the worst one. And firing JR, I don't know why he did that, especially in front of Oklahoma City, and seeing Michael Cole acting like a 2-year-old kid is just crazy. So I don't know what might happen next, but whatever's going to happen, I hope it's great. Now, as far as Miz and R-Truth, I didn't care if they did come back, because there's just one thing I do want to see. I want to see CM Punk and Triple H beat the holy smack out of them at Vengeance.
All right, thank you very much for that call from Bloomington, Illinois. You know, David, I knew there were like 2 or 3 of them out there, but I didn't realize that they were so close to us just down in Illinois, the 2 or 3 people that aren't fans of The Miz.
Oh, there's more than just 2 or 3. You're too much.
Well, David,
we got to talk about on primetime this week, don't we?
We have a ton to talk about on primetime this week, so much so that we are introducing actually a new feature on primetime this week, and it is called 5 More Minutes, David Hero. 5 more minutes.
My gosh.
5 more minutes. And that'll be an online exclusive only. It's more discussion, an extended version of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime online. And that's available each and every week at our website, pwrshow.com. If you haven't already, hop on over to pwrshow.com and check out that full-length version of our interview with the Pope of Impact Wrestling.
Oh, really? Are you still playing that Joker?
He had a lot to say about
nothing nice about me.
Well, if you would, you buried him.
No,
Valentine's Day,
Valentine's Day,
2010. Valentine's Day 2010. You thought you were in a buried alive match, and you buried the Pope.
I said he would never headline a TNA pay-per-view.
And then
have I been wrong?
2 months later.
That was the last match. That wasn't the headline.
So that's when you then chose to define the difference between a headlining match and a main event match. And
Absolutely.
Speaking of headlining and main event matches, I am very happy to be headlining and main eventing Blizzard Brawl 7 on December 3rd as I whoop Chris Masters' ass with my new finishing move. It's not the full Nelson. It's the Nelson lock. Wait till you see it. It's been perfected.
Dude, it's
now.
like a half Nelson. What are you talking about?
I've been in the ring 4 hours a day, every day for the last 3 weeks with my trainers. I got a different trainer every day, and it has been fantastic. Just saying. Tickets on sale now.
Make sure your health insurance is paid up.
BlizzardBrawl.com.
It's free now. Absolutely.
I get it. Didn't our president give it to everybody? You can get tickets at pwrshow.com. David Hero, let's go to the tote and find out what the fans overall had to say tonight about WWE RAW. And without looking at our Facebook page, what would you predict, David Hero? Would the fans have voted tonight a pass or a fail overall?
I would have to say it was a fail.
Yeah, that happened. Yep. About 75% of the votes indicate that they feel tonight's Raw was a fail. Well, 25% saying that it was a pass. Again, I think this is one of those Raws, David Hero, where things are going to have to sink in before we fully realize what happened. And you can count on us to continue walking you through that journey all week long. And we're actually going to be deciding and letting you decide what our next in-depth special is going to be. We got a lot of good feedback on our in-depth special looking at TNA wrestling, and we'll be introducing another in-depth series very, very soon. But on our Facebook page in the next few days, you'll be able to vote for what that series will be on. So some interesting suggestions will be out there, David Hero. The interns have been very busy coming up with that list, like the best roads, the best reality star that would make it on to WWE. Those are some of the topics that the fans will be able to vote on.
Okay. I would say John Morrison is the best reality star that's made it.
Oh, yeah. See where that got him.
Up with a reality show.
1, 2, 3 pin in quick fashion, and also what some people refer to as looking a little Horseman-esque. The
watch your tongue.
Swagger. Hey,
please.
I just report. You decide. Swagger, Cody Rhodes, Dolph Ziggler, all attacking John Morrison tonight on Raw. And John Morrison, there was some discussion during that matchup about his status with WWE, so WWE playing that up just a little bit. But things not looking so good as of late for Mr. Morrison.
No, not looking good at all for him. But you know what? For a while, I thought he was on his way out. I think they're going to keep him around. I got more on that later on prime time.
Oh, really? And that's Saturday night online. So, unfortunately, this is an abbreviated version of the show tonight, but Stay tuned for all the programming that we have for you this week. Every week, David Hero, you know we deliver over 2.5 hours of brand new programming to all of our fans all over the world, and we only do it for you guys, so thank you very much for tuning in. It is Bound for Glory week. Be the booker on Friday for Bound for Glory. That one should be fun. David Hero, you've got to come up with the outcome to the fight between Sting and Hulk Hogan if you were the man booking that matchup, and I can't wait to hear how you're going to get through that one. Also, Sunday after Bound for Glory on pay-per-view, we'll have the post show right here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be taking your calls and more. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the post show on Blog Talk Radio. Thank you to all of you who joined us in the chat room, and we'll see you again Friday. Yes, indeed, Friday for Be the Booker online.